What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about Kel'el Ware. Now, he is the 7-foot, 20-year-old out of Indiana. Now, this is a guy that is expected to fall in kind of like that 15 to 20 range. Some mock drafts have the Lakers taking him at 17. Some mock drafts have him being taken at 17 by the Lakers over even Zach Edey, who a lot of people really want to see the Lakers take. Now, personally, I would take Ware over Edey if, let's say, both are available at that time. Now, Zach Edey is a guy that I think would help more now, and I do think could have a real kind of impact, whether it's starting or coming off the bench. Kel'el Ware, I do believe, could, again, have an impact out the gate. I just don't think the impact immediately would be as high. Like, I think Zach Edey could come in and in the right role be like a 15 and 10 guy, right? Like right out the gate, right? Because he is very skilled down in the low post. Obviously, that depends on touches, that depends on minutes, role, right? There's a lot of factors that go into that. Where Kel'el Ware, to me, I do think he could kind of play like the lively role that you see with the Dallas Mavericks right now and make that impact. But to me, long term, Kel'el Ware is a bigger upside, and I really like his potential as a starting center, especially alongside Anthony Davis, and especially in like kind of the modern NBA. The real question with a guy like Zach Edey is, will he translate to an NBA level? And even if he does, is he going to be played off the floor heavily, right? Doesn't move his feet very well. He's this big mountain of a man. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he has all the low post skills. He can play at the post. He can do a lot, right? But mismatches and exploitations are very impactful. I mean, look at what's happening with Luka right now is a great example in the NBA Finals, right? Rudy Gobert, a four-time NBA defensive champion, right? Defensive Player of the Year. He's getting played out. Like, they need to take him off the court because he's just a liability out there. Talk about a guy in a Zach Edey who he doesn't move well because, again, he's 7'4", 7'10" wingspan. He's like 300 pounds, right? Like, the guy is just, he's not so much the modern type of athletic big man, where somebody like Kel'el Ware, he's a big man that can run the floor. He could stretch the floor, right? He can be a lob threat. He can be a shot blocker, right? This is a guy that was basically 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal or so per game. He shot excellent from the floor, right? He's like 62% from 2-point range, right? I think it was like 56% total from the field. He shot nearly 43% from 3-point range. Now, it was only on 40 attempts for the season, not per game, for the season. I was only on like 40 attempts, which isn't this huge sample size, but it is a good sample size. He's a solid free throw shooter, not a great free throw shooter, but he's solid enough to where you can see the translation, where, if he continues to grow, develop, and improve, he just fits the kind of modern mold now better than a Zach Edey would. Now, again, Zach Edey could end up just being such a powerhouse down low that, like, you may end up having to play him, right? Like, you look at guys, and I'm not comparing them in the sense of like skill level, but just like you look at Jokic. Jokic is a defensive liability, but he is just so good, you can't take him off the court. And with good coaching, you can kind of hide him and mask him. I think you could do that with somebody like a Zach Edey, but to me with Ware, I don't think you would have to do that. I think he, especially playing alongside Anthony Davis and learning and growing and developing alongside Anthony Davis, I think he's a guy that could defend and block shots, be a low post, deterrent from just guys being able to just drive to the rim. Also be a good help side, blind side defensive player. But I also think he's a guy that could switch out and defend in the pick and roll and wouldn't be the liability that somebody like a Zach Edey would be, which is the question, right? Because if Zach Edey's on the court, what's going to happen? You're going to see teams basically bring a big man. Like, say you're playing, let's say Minnesota, right? Like, they'll just put Cat at the 5, or they'll put, Naz Reid at the 5. And now Zach Edey, what are you just going to let them shoot threes? They'll beat you, right? So that becomes a problem. Obviously, there's a whole argument. Well, you have to be able to stop him too. But again, like how much of a focal point is he going to be on the offensive side, especially alongside of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, where I do think a Kel'el Ware, he can come in. I think he could be that floor running big. I think you could use him as, like a screen setter and slasher. I just think he's more versatile on the offensive side, even right now, right? Where Zach Edey, you're not doing a lot of the things that you could do with a Ware because he just has the quickness, agility, and, the athleticism to be able to put him in more actions. Where Zach Edey, you're kind of just like, he's on the block, you're dumping it down, he's established position, right? Like, Zach Edey is closer to like an Ibaka Zubac, right, type player, as opposed to, where like a Ware is getting closer to like maybe like a Gafford or a Lively. But also those two guys don't really stretch the floor. Ware is a guy that does and is capable of stretching the floor. Again, he's a real 7-footer. Good athleticism. I think he would give you just much more versatility along with the bigger upside. Where, again, I think Zach Edey, right out the gate, he's a guy that, again, based on the amount of touches and role that he plays, right, I think that he could be a 15 and 10 guy. But question is, what does he do, and can he impact the game outside of actually getting the basketball, right? Obviously, the rebounds, that's one way, but is he going to be able to defend at an NBA level? Is he going to be able to be a deterrent at the NBA level, right? You look at somebody like a Victor Wembanyama. Again, Zach Edey's not Victor Wembanyama, but in the sense of these like giant, massive 6'10" wingspans, or sorry, like 7'10" wingspans, not 6'10", 7'10" wingspans, right? Like Zach Edey has this just long, and you see like with Victor, even when he's just not even really playing, he's just kind of in the area, he's an automatic deterrent because players are like, I have to shoot over that 7'10". Like his arms are almost as high as the rim is, right? So I have to shoot over that. And you see like with Victor, players will just like go, and then they see Victor and they just like go back around, or they'll just kind of come back around and pass through. He's a deterrent even without having to really play like locked down defensively, right? Can Zach Edey kind of be that? Where I think even when I don't think he needs the ball. Where Zach Edey, I think he's a player that is going to need the ball more. Where I think Ware would be better without the ball, and I think he just provides more. Again, he can switch out to the perimeter. He can block shots. He can be a lob threat. Right, you can have him as a an off-ball cutter. You can have him as the screen setter and run some pick and roll action with him, and he can move and get to the spots quicker. Right, like I just think that you have more versatility on both sides of the basketball. I also think Ware can cover more ground on the defensive side of things because, again, he's more mobile. He can get out, and he's 20 years old. Where Zach Edey is what? He's 22 off the man, 22, 23, something like that. So again, you have a couple years of where, you could spend 2-3 years to develop him. Now, there is the argument to be made of like, if you could get somebody that's more win now, right? That because the Lakers are in a win now position, you take Edey. Me personally, I default to, yes, I want to win now, but LeBron's only got a couple more. Like at some point, you gotta start getting pieces that can help and be a factor for the future. And Ware isn't somebody like, like Jalen Hood-Schifino when he was drafted. I know people don't like Jalen Hood-Schifino. I know all that. I get that. I'm of the mind of like, let's wait and see with him, right? But this isn't so much about him specifically, but more so like he was drafted as a guy that was never going to really see the basketball court, was drafted as a project development type player, right? So you got the guy that like, okay, he's a draft pick that can grow and develop. You got to start putting those pieces out there where I think Ware, to me, he's a guy that, yes, is a draft and develop guy, but he also can help more now, and he's still a position of need. Where Jalen Hood-Schifino, again, he was a guy that was drafted as for like the development guy, not really so much for now because you had several guards. It was like he was never going to see the basketball court. Where's a guy I think would see the basketball court immediately, right off the jump, and could make an impact, right? To the level, again, as a Lively or, a Trace Jackson, right, for Golden State Warriors, right? So I'm just trying to think of like rookies that popping in my head that played the center position that made an impact out the gate. I think Ware is one of those guys, can knock down the occasional three, can be a guy that can run the floor, right? I think he can go a long way. And so I would rather have the upside and also a guy that can make an impact. Maybe he doesn't make the impact immediately that like Edey would, but him still being able to make an impact. But the upside potential is just so much higher for a guy like Ware. And you're seeing heavily in these playoffs in particular, especially with the finals with like Kristaps Porzingis and stuff, the versatility is very important, right? Like Rudy Gobert isn't very versatile. Right, like he's kind of limited in what he can do, right? So you saw Lively and Gafford just kind of get what they want and do what they want because they're just more versatile. They can just do more. They're more mobile. They're quicker. They can. So, but now you're seeing like in the Boston series, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis. They're more versatile. They can stretch the floor. They can defend at the rim. They can defend out on the perimeter. They can do things. The versatility is very valuable in today's NBA, and I just think Ware gives you more of that versatility as opposed to an Edey. So I think if both are on the board, personally, I think you take Ware. If he's not, if let's say he's taken with like the 15th pick or whatever, then I think it's no-brainer you go with Edey. Depends on who else there. But, if you're talking about big men, then I think you go with Edey. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think, yes, you gotta draft Ware? He's the guy, 17. Do you think no? If like Edey's on the board, you take Edey. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.